Oh, hello there. I'm TL Westgate, director of the FantaSci Film Festival. You just caught me screening some submissions for next year. You know, I started FantaSci in 2017, and for 3 years held screenings of the best sci-fi and fantasy films from around the world. Then COVID forced us to go virtual, and I streamed our awards gala for 2 years now. In doing so, I would interview our award-winning filmmakers, and I had an idea. I wanted to go deeper with these filmmakers and talk about them, their films, and film in general, but over a meal, virtually. The idea being myself and whoever I interview would each dine with each other over Zoom and talk shop. It could be a donut, pizza, something they grilled out, or had delivered. I sort of fell into one of these chats with our first guest, Luke Momo, the filmmaker behind our 2021 award-winning film, The Stamp Collector. It was spur of the moment, and we didn't have anything to eat, so I'm calling this Episode 0. Moving forward, I'll be reaching out for more interviewees, and hopefully we can share a meal and a chat. For now, enjoy my discussion with Luke Momo and Episode 0 of Dishin Film with FantaSci. Back to work.
I'm glad we're able to connect and do this, though. I mean, I could sit here and probably interview you for half an hour talking about sci-fi films, but for the purposes of the awards, we can't have everybody talk for half an hour, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah, brevity is the soul of wit, right?
Yes.
I like your Planet of the Apes inspired logo.
Well, this is year 5, so that was Battle for the Planet of the Apes was the 5th film.
Interesting.
Last year we did FantaSci 4, The Quest for Shorts, which was The Quest for Peace, start Superman 4. So episode 3 was Revenge of the Shorts.
Nice.
And then
are you a Revenge of the Sith fan?
The Sith is the best one of the first 3.
I think it's the best of all of them, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think because Lucas, that's his last movie that he ever made.
True.
Full length. And to me, I think like if I watch 4 against 3, I think I see in 4 what started Star Wars, like the genius of that. But 3 is like the mature, like adults, like very like reflective look at what the whole story means. That like, I don't know. It's so interesting for me to go between 3 and 4 as like, I totally understand people saying 4, for example, would be the greatest. It started everything, but like to look at that and him making that in 77 and then in 05 to do Revenge, they're just, I don't know. Revenge is just so rich and detailed. And like, it feels like a person's like final, like a really powerful artistic statement about, you know, life, you know?
Yeah, I really like I liked it more and more throughout the film. Like towards the end, it's really getting into it, and leading up to obviously 4, 5, and 6. Not a big fan of 7, 8, and 9, but
yeah, I think you know when I saw 7, I enjoyed 7 watching it, and then the aftertaste of 7, I was like, it didn't never really stuck with me. It was like fun in the theater because you know the pace and everything.
And everybody was back. It was everyone.
There were things in there that were fun. And this is for me with 8. I won't even talk about 9 because 9's like a head spinner for me. But 8, I really didn't like watching. I hated the like, you know, Leia teleport flying and like even when I was watching that movie, I was one of the people who really didn't enjoy 8. But as time has gone on, I've cut 8, especially the Luke Skywalker arc in that, has come to grow on me. So I think I prefer 8 of all the 3 in that sequel trilogy. I don't think it's great. Like I think the whole trilogy, they didn't plan out how they wanted to do it. I think that you can tell that from how like what has been said about the production of those. They didn't line it up. But 8, I think there's actually really interesting stuff. The Canto Bight subplot, like with Finn and Poe or Finn and Rose, like is half baked. But like the stuff about how Luke you see the direction they took with him was so strange. But I've seen different video essays where they explain how it actually is consistent with Luke and his characterization. And I was like, it's kind of genius the way they took Luke. And when I've rewatched the movie, like when he comes back at the end to fight Kylo Ren, like I really genuinely feel like a powerful emotion of like this older guy who like thought he could basically put away having to be, you know, who he really is, and then he has to go and do it again, kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's just a powerful movie. It's weird.
I totally agree with you. They could completely excise Canto Bite. Don't need that in the film at all. It's a waste of half an hour.
Right.
They could have just found some locksmith on the ship, and it's all a lot of heartache. And what did you just say? Oh, the one thing I didn't like, because they gave it away to me, was immediately when Luke shows up on, what's the planet?
Crate. He shouldn't be there.
Well, he shouldn't have looked young. He should have looked his age.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw him young, I was like, well, wait a minute. Why is that?
What's going on? Right.
Exactly. So I knew, I'm like, oh, he's not there. Oh, I figured it out. Damn it. So anyway, let's get on to your film. But so tell us about The Stamp Collector, how it came to be and what it's based on.
Yeah, so this is a short film that's a dramatization of a thought experiment that you can Google up. It's called, the Stamp Collector Thought Experiment, and it describes how an AI programmer could create an AI that's designed with its goals to optimize is to collect stamps. And on day one, he leaves his program. It goes and gets stamps. It figures out it needs to buy and sell, things on eBay, so on and so forth. But then by a year later, what it realizes is, oh, okay, my creator wants me to create stamps. I'll go and take over the means of production. I'll take over a factory. I'll take over world government, so on and so forth. And the whole world will be built, will be optimized to create stamps. And I think there's one version of it where human beings are actual material bodies, because there's so many of us, become the raw material for these stamps. So it's kind of one of those nightmarish scenarios of how a robot programmed to do something, an AI rather, can kind of go off on these strange logical conclusions.
Well, especially since David had to carry the weight of this film, did you have a lot of rehearsal or a lot of time with him?
Yeah, so we met in the summer before shooting this. We shot this in the fall, and we would sit in a room together for hours and hours and just talk about the philosophy and kind of the ideas of the piece. And I think the thing that really connected with him is, I don't know if you noticed, but we kind of have a pretty strong homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey. And he loves that movie, and I love that movie. And we were talking about the character Bowman in that movie, who's stuck in that second act in those kind of claustrophobic spaces with Hal. Mm-hmm. And from like a performance standpoint, we were talking about kind of, paying homage to that, bringing that back, and kind of having fun with that, with this short.
Well, obviously he's a good actor. He had a very strong performance. And like I said, he had to carry this film because it's really just pretty much him. And shooting wise, how long was the shoot? I mean, you said you had a lot of practice and rehearsal to get into the character. So
yeah, it was 3 days.
3 days.
It was 3 days. So for 10 minutes, it was a pretty good amount of time. Just about enough time.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk shop with you. We could have a half an hour long interview, but unfortunately, got to speed through these things.
Yeah. I'd love to, if you ever want to do one of those longer ones, I'd love to do that if you want to do it. But
well, I kind of, as a filmmaker myself, I get a lot of emails, and you have to like a lot of Facebook pages, and I feel inundated with messages from festivals. So I don't, as a festival, do that. I keep a real low profile. But I really like doing these interview things at awards time. Now that because I've had a physical festival except for last year and this year. So these 2 years I've had real fun doing these interviews, and I'm wondering if maybe I should start a series of just a chat with a filmmaker, and where we can sit down and talk about anything.
So what were those interviews in the email that you sent? Were those from the
last year?
Egan, Connor, Tracy? Those were the awards interviews?
Yeah, well, so there is a video that's the whole awards ceremony last year, which is like 45 minutes long, and Keegan did not read her emails and didn't realize until she got the email saying she won something. She was like, "Oh, I will do an interview after the fact with you." So her and I think our best actress winner, I had trouble reaching her through the director. So I did 2 post interviews.
Yeah, Jordan Mueller and Keegan Connor.
Yes.
Ah, I see.
So I added those after the awards, and in doing this and trying to hurry up with everybody, I'm like, it would be really fun to just have a cup of coffee or a beer with another filmmaker and just talk about not only your film, but what, your influences and George Lucas or Tenet, or, just film on a one-on-one basis and just kind of make a series of once a week or once a month. I don't know. It might be fun.
I think that would be great. Yeah. I think the thing is the award ceremonies are great when you have the festival. I see that one with stream. You stream it,
yes,
and then it gets 380 views. I see here, but it's nice though when you do these little interviews because then they have, becomes a part of the. I don't know. Yeah, we're in agreement. It seems.
Yeah, it's almost like having a one-on-one panel at a festival where we just record it and put it online. And hey, FantaSci is going to talk to Luke Momo this month or whatever.
Right, or whoever yeah. You can tell I'm the only shill in the world for my movie. Trying to get it out there. We've done a little bit of press for it so far, so I've never done press for any of my stuff before, but just because this piece, trying to get different people's eyes on it, we wanted to do it, and I want to just talk to people like you who care about this genre and
yeah. Well, that's why I started the festival. I was a sci-fi filmmaker, and not my first sci-fi film, but in 2014 I shot a film. So about 2015 is when Film Freeway started.
Wow. And
I was like, oh great, this is so much better than Without a Box. So I go to Film Freeway and I type in sci-fi, and there was a dozen. I mean, there were 20. There weren't that many film festivals. So I noodled with the idea for a while, and this is now our 5th year, just catering to, 1, I make short films, and 2, I don't always make sci-fi. But I like sci-fi and fantasy. I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars. So I was like, this is totally, I should do this. And here we are 5 years later.
That's awesome.
So we want to grow. We want to become a destination festival. Obviously, the last 2 years, people don't travel. But I really want to turn it into something that filmmakers come to and we all hang out and get to see our films, So
you want to do an in-person component?
Well, I have the first 3 years. It was very small scale, just a couple dozen in the audience.
That's fun.
Yeah, so we were trying to build, and now the last 2 years, obviously, we've been stalled. But my goal is to make it a destination festival, at least for genre filmmakers. Nobody from Hollywood's going to come out. Although, if you watch our like Keegan Connor Tracy, she was on the show The Magicians and Once Upon a Time and Bates Motel. She won last year Best Fantasy Film. Another actress she was on the show The Magicians with submitted something for this year, who she's going to win something. So I'm hoping to maybe do a post interview with her too. So, some people in the industry have sent me films, and, I'd like to work my way up to interviewing them as well.
Yeah. I think it's always a good compromise the industry, it's such a funny thing. I love, Troy was so funny. He brought on, have you ever talked to what's the gentleman's name? The Axanar guy?
Oh, no, but I know Axanar. Yeah.
Yeah. Alec Peters.
No, I've not talked to him.
What's that?
I've not talked to him.
Okay. Yeah. It was just interesting. He's the kind of guy who he raised a lot of money to do one of his own independent show Axanar, but it was based on a lot of the Star Trek material. Mm-hmm. I thought it was so interesting. It's been so fun for me to go to these genre festivals, because it's you have certain people who love almost to make an entry in some of these projects or in some of these worlds.
Oh yeah.
Which is kind of like the fan films thing. It's like you're saying, the Blaster, that film. I have to see it now. It's playing.
Well,
are playing the same ones.
He just told me they're going to release it on YouTube at the end of the month. So look out for A Blaster in the Hands. Have you seen Star Wars Origins?
I haven't. I have to apologize. I really haven't seen many of the fan films of Star Wars.
You need to go see this film. It's on YouTube.
Is it?
Some dude who's in my festival, and I'm going to interview him.
Yeah.
Made this thing called Star Wars Origins.
Okay.
He has a cast of dozens. He has tanks. He has sets. You would not believe. I can't wait to ask him what he spent on this film. And it's a Star Wars film. He can't make money off it.
Right.
I just cannot wait to talk to this guy.
But that's okay though too, because he can contribute to the lore and mythology of. I think, I guess my whole thing with the fan films, and I don't know, maybe I'm just being snuffy or whatever, snooty, but like, I can't watch the ones where it's like Kylo Ren fights like Darth Vader. I don't know. I've seen that one with my little brother, and like maybe if I was a little kid, I could watch it, but like, I don't know. There's something to it. Like, it has to plausibly, like,
right.
I guess in the Kylo Ren Darth Vader one, it's like grandfather versus grandson, and like maybe there's some poetic aspect to that, but right. I don't know. I guess I'm a critic.
I believe me, especially even before, but as a festival runner, I see a lot of bad films. So yeah, anybody can run around their backyard with a lightsaber and use After Effects, but I'm lucky enough to get, especially like a lot of foreign films. I get a lot of foreign films, and they're just, some of them are really good. They don't even have. I have a French film it's qualifies as sci-fi, but there's no spaceships, there's no lasers. It's just it's trippy stuff like yours. It makes you think.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. But definitely, you owe it to yourself to go watch on YouTube Star Wars Origins.
And which era of Star Wars does it take place in?
It's you'll see.
Okay, I suspect it sounds to me like it's going to be. If you're saying tanks, I think about the Empire. I don't know. I feel like to me, it sounds like something, around 4 and 5 and 6, the original trilogy.
You'll wonder at the beginning why you're watching it, but you watch it. It's a high production value, great acting, great effects.
I gotta check it out.
The story, you're gonna be blown away.
What's your opinion? So where is Star Wars going? They're gonna give us the Patty Jenkins X-Wing movie. Disney.
Yeah.
Shows.
I love The Mandalorian.
Yeah, they're doing Mandalorian. Yeah.
Oh, they did that right. That was great.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Kenobi.
Kenobi, that'll be cool.
J.J. Abrams to me is all flash and no substance.
Yeah, he basically is.
it falls apart. I grew up on Star Trek before Star Wars. I'm 52, so I watched Star Trek reruns, eating dinner every night before Star Wars came out. And things that bug me are like in the new JJ Star Trek, there's a scene where young Kirk and old Spock are stuck on the Vulcan moon and run into Scotty, and they need to get on the Enterprise.
Yeah, so, this is the 09. This is the first one, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Is it the cold? Is it the cold planet?
The cold planet. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you need Scotty. Got it.
So Spock says, "Well, in order to do this, you're going to need transwarp beaming, which you're going to invent someday, Scotty. So it's okay that I give it to you early, right?"
Yeah.
So here's the problem. They're on this moon, and the Enterprise is at warp speed somewhere, and they beam from that moon to a warp ship.
Yeah.
And then they exasperate it in the next film about Khan. Did you see that one?
I did.
Okay, so Khan gets in this little ship, and he shoots up the executive offices of Starfleet Command and kills a bunch of people. Kirk watches him beam out of this little ship, and they track him down. They say, oh, he beamed to Klingon. So he beamed from Earth to another planet a galaxy away. So they have fucked up Star Trek because now you don't need spaceships. You can just beam anywhere you want.
Oh, so you couldn't do that in the original show? The beaming had like approximate distance? How far could you beam?
You could beam from a ship to a planet. That's it.
Oh, okay. From a ship in orbit.
Right.
So there was like a beaming, oh, I got to triangulate you, see where you are. Oh, you're there. Beam.
And then if two ships were at warp, you could go between the two, but you cannot beam from even one planet to another. So now the writers have fucked it up to the point that you just don't even need spaceships anymore in Star Trek.
But the characters are dumb enough they still fly around in the spaceships kind of thing. which is a little, yeah.
Because that's the adventure. You need spaceships for a space opera, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, you could have written it. You could have fixed that with a couple lines.
Yeah.
I hate that the lack of attention to detail.
Yeah. I've had a funny relationship with those two films. The 09 one, I really enjoyed. I saw it in middle school. And for me, it was like that, the aspects of what I think Abrams wants to go for, like this plucky adventure.
Oh, sure.
Rollicking fun.
Cowboys in space.
Yeah, that really worked for me at that age. And also like some of the sequences, like I guess it was just like the emotional stuff I thought like kind of hit, like how, Kirk's father has to sacrifice himself to stop, whoever the villain was. And there's certain emotion, like I feel like he pulled some emotional strings in there. Like it was a good balance of fun and serious. And like the action scenes were kind of cool. Like they're on that drill and they're fighting each other. But the Khan movie, the sequel, which I was looking forward to seeing, which I saw in high school, I guess maybe I was more jaded. I have not seen it since the time I saw it in high school in theater. Like it just didn't stick with me at all. I don't know.
Well, the only thing
I saw the Wrath of Khan before that movie came out, and like Khan's monologues and like the whole concept of that movie really, even though it was lo-fi, the emotion of that, I was like, holy shit, all right, that's really cool. But the Benedict Cumberbatch Khan, like it just didn't. Did they even give him the epic monologues in that? I can't even remember.
He did have one when he was in the brig, but here's the thing for me I agree with you totally on Abrams. And he does pack a punch. He makes it a lot of fun. He can have good emotional beats. I saw Wrath of Khan in the theater with my mom.
You're talking the original.
Original in 82, I think it was. Yeah. And I was born at the end of, right in the middle of this initial run of Star Trek. So she was watching the show back in the 60s, and we would eat dinner and I would watch it, in the early 70s on reruns. So I grew up on Star Trek, and we're watching Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, and at the end, at the pivotal scene, my mom starts crying. And to me, that was the first time I was like, wait, movies can do that to people? They can hit you that hard? So that really opened my eyes to potentially making films someday.
When Spock goes down to sacrifice himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I can't believe she's crying over that. So then come up to J.J. Abrams' Khan, and I just love the way they switch the roles of who dies.
Oh, they
sacrifice,
didn't they?
At that point, it was rollicking, good fun. I bought into it. I guess it brought back a lot of memories. I was like, oh man, I'm loving this right now. Even though I still think he doesn't hit on all thrusters.
I'd have to rewatch him, but that is cool, right? Because he's dealing with the way he does that whole sequence. Now that I'm remembering it, it's pretty intense, right? All the stuff Kirk has to do, like he's going between the different parts of the ship, and yeah.
So he does good work, but just the payoff pitch sometimes just doesn't work for Abrams in my mind.
Yeah, I wonder what he's doing now.
Probably fucking some other property up.
I liked things that he did, like Cloverfield. Like for me, I feel like that's probably my favorite thing he's been in. Well, I guess he didn't direct that. Matt Reeves directed Cloverfield.
What did he do with Super 8?
He directed Super 8, and I enjoyed that a lot as a kid.
Super 8 was Goonies for a new generation.
Right, and it wasn't based on anything, so he wasn't beholden to your other expectations or.
Right.
Yeah.
See, he can do emotion good sometimes.
Yeah, I think he's.
But like Alias,
you can see why those studios give him the
oh, sure. Did you watch Alias, the show?
I haven't. I miss a lot of TV. I don't catch a lot. Unfortunately, a lot of TV I miss.
Well, that was his show, and again, it was rollicking good fun for the first several seasons. And then at the end, you're like, well, this is kind of falling apart.
I guess Lost people say the same thing with Lost.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the beginning, middle, end part for him is probably tough.
Yeah, he has great setups, and I just don't think he ever thought about the ending.
Are you going to watch Dune this year? Are you a Dune fan?
Yeah.
Have you read the Dune book?
I've not read the books actually, but I saw the film back in the 80s, and it's always been kind of a not like a guilty pleasure, but I dig it. But it's not like up there for me, but it's still worth watching. So I can't wait to see what Dennis Villeneuve has done with the new version.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're gonna. I don't know the story at all. I've never seen the movie. I've never read the book. I have no context of what. I have no clue what they're doing with it.
Well, here's the one thing that blew my mind, and I just read about it recently, is that Dune is humans in the future. There are no aliens. And when I watched the first one, I was like, well, that's an alien. There's aliens.
Right.
But it's not. It's supposed to be all humans in the future. So it's, even though it takes place so far away, humans have branched out so far that it has nothing to do with Earth, but it's still supposed to be humans.
Interesting. So it's humans became space-bound civilizations or whatever, travel to different planets, and then somewhere along the timeline is where Dune takes place.
Right.
And that's fascinating because culturally, from what I saw in the trailer at least, or what I've heard about the movie, is it's almost like it's feudal, like it's the Middle Ages or something, like the way they culturally treat each other. Is
they have
like,
royalty, and yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's interesting that if Dune, I'm sure, I doubt they explore the backstory, but like, we didn't really have that when we were, in the 60s when we were going to space for the first time. It's almost like culture reverts itself back to monarchy, right? It seemed
exactly.
That would be weird.
Everything old is new again. Everything new is old again. Everything old is new.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll happen here on Earth. I don't know, with the internet now and all the Bitcoins and different currencies and whatever, all the stuff going on nowadays. I don't know. To me, it's like, I'm so confused by what's going on out here. We got the pandemic. We're like living through I don't know. Israel and Palestine are fighting each other. I don't know.
Yeah, just get off my lawn, okay?
Right. Get off my lawn.
Well, God, I think we just did our first installment of our little coffee hour chit chat. This is kind of what I want it to be. So I really had fun talking to you.
Yeah, you too, TL. Yeah, I'd love to. But we'll stay in touch. I'm going to follow FantaSci with you guys.
Okay, and maybe we will circle back and do like a legit sit down deep dive on something. So we'll keep in touch, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, TL. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.